Hi, my name is Annie, and I am one of the co-curators for the Doan Gang, Outlaws of the Revolution here at the Mercer Museum. So today in history, 247 years ago, we had the Loyalist raid of the Bird in Hand in Newtown in 1778. So just a few days prior to the raid, General George Washington wrote a letter asking for several thousand yards of cloth to be seized from local Bucks Countyans. It was brought to a local mill in Newtown, owned by Thomas Jenks, where it was going to eventually be turned into Continental Army uniforms. Once the Loyalist troops in occupied Philadelphia heard about the seizure of this cloth, they rode up from Philadelphia, being led by one of the heads of the local dragoon company, Richard Hoveden. He rode up from Philadelphia all the way to Bucks County, and you can see he arrived around February 17th, February 18th, 1778. So first, the Loyalist troops arrived at the falling mill. They seized all the cloth, burnt the mill to the ground, and then rode just a few minutes towards Newtown, where the tavern was located. Revolutionary picket is alerted to the troops being in Newtown. Gunfire is exchanged. During the raid, some revolutionaries are unfortunately killed and several are taken prisoner, including Major Francis Murray, who was an important political figure in Newtown during this time period, and they were then actually brought back to occupied Philadelphia, which is occupied by the British at this point. So this model here that's currently up in our exhibition is of the Bird in Hand Tavern in Newtown. So this is where the tailors were located that were working on the cloth and turning it into army uniforms. While doing research for the Doan Gang exhibition, we found this little scrap of paper in the Canadian archives, and this document is important because it captures the involvement of Joseph Tomlinson Jr., who was employed and active in taking a quantity of cloth which was seized by a detachment of His Majesty's Army in the year 1778. So this newspaper, which is on display with our Bird in Hand Tavern model, is the Pennsylvania Ledger, which was a Loyalist newspaper published in Philadelphia. So there were no Bucks County newspapers during the time of the American Revolution. We were completely dependent on Philadelphia newspapers. So you would not find any publication talking about the raid of the Bird in Hand unless you were looking at a Loyalist newspaper. So this newspaper here, the Pennsylvania Ledger, tells the whole story of Richard Hoveden and his Loyalist dragoon troops riding up from Philadelphia, burning down Jenks' Falling Mill in Newtown, seizing the cloth, engaging in a small skirmish in Newtown, and it also lists exactly who they took back as prisoners of war to occupied Philadelphia. So the Loyalist raid at the Bird in Hand Tavern is one of the few Revolutionary War battles that took place in Bucks County. If you're looking to learn more about local history and how it intersects with the American Revolution and America 250, come down to the Mercer Museum.